An automobile that stopped the world cold was shown at the Paris Motor Show in the fall of 1955. The Citroën DS appeared to have been lifted from a science fiction vision. Sleek, alien, and nearly impossible to imagine. This vehicle not only carried passengers, but it also questioned all preconceived ideas about what an automobile could be, at a time when Europe was still recovering from the wounds of World War II. DS, which translates to goddess in French, was a suitable moniker for a machine that appeared to hover over the typical roads of post-war France. Beneath that calm elegance, however, was a car so drastically designed that it would confound technicians, amaze drivers, and subtly change the direction of automobile design in the future. How could such a gorgeous car be so bold and so polarizing? Europe is having a hard time redefining itself at the start of the DS tale. In the 1950s, France had to contend with economic strain, growing competition from British and German automakers, and a populace eager for advancement. The DS's manufacturer, Citroën, had made it through the war, but it needed something unique to grab people's attention and establish itself in the contemporary day. Together, the visionary engineer André Lefebvre and the sculptor-turned-car designer Flaminio Bertoni created a vehicle that would combine comfort, cutting-edge technology, and aerodynamics in a way never seen before. The DS was more than just a new model. It was a declaration and manifesto that France was capable of producing the world's most inventive automobiles. The hydropneumatic suspension was, of course, its most astounding feature. The DS was able to move across uneven terrain with an almost miraculous grace because of this mechanism. It could self-level, changing the riding height in response to speed and load. The car may be lowered at high speeds for stability or raised to traverse uneven terrain. The front wheels could even turn fast enough to aid maneuvering tight turns. The brakes were assisted and far more sensitive than anything in its class, and the steering was accurate and almost uncanny light. The DS was decades ahead of its time in many respects. But there was a price for this genius. The intricate hydraulic system was intolerant of inadequate upkeep. Owners who neglected routine maintenance had to pay for expensive repairs. The car's innovative design troubled mechanics who had never seen anything like it, and Citroën's dealers were inundated with inquisitive but occasionally irate clients. In addition to being a technical marvel, the DS captivated the interest of both discerning drivers and average families. It was astonishingly comfortable for lengthy trips, roomy without compromising style, and stylish without being pretentious. Families who could afford it felt that driving a DS was almost a cultural experience. It became an aspirational item that talked of hope, recovery, and sophistication in the post-war age, and it became a symbol of French creativity. It attracted politicians, celebrities, and even chiefs of state, such as Charles de Gaulle, whose life was spared when a DS's suspension system enabled him to accelerate across impassable terrain without losing control, escaping an attempted murder. The DS turned from an automobile to a legend during times like these. However, the DS's tale was not without its difficulties. The market was divided by its unconventional design. The price, which was greater than that of the majority of mid-range cars at the time, the unusual hydraulic levers, and the unfamiliar controls scared off a lot of buyers. Because the exquisitely sculpted steel body panels were susceptible to corrosion in northern regions, rust proved to be an enduring foe. Furthermore, even devoted Citroën buyers started to question whether it was really feasible to maintain such a sophisticated car as the 1970s drew near due to the oil crisis and changes in the economy. When production finally came to an end in 1975, it left behind a legacy of wonder and appreciation as well as a generation of vehicles that were both thrilling to drive and difficult to maintain. Nevertheless, the DS had a lasting impression on the automotive industry despite its flaws. Due in great part to the DS's fame and the attention it brought to the company, Citroën itself was able to weather difficult economic times. In the decades that followed, its advancements in safety, suspension, and aerodynamics impacted innumerable designs. The DS was more than just a vehicle. It was a declaration of potential. Each curve, lever, and hydraulic piston conveyed a tale of boldness and aspiration. Its enduring appeal to drivers, collectors, and historians attests to a unique balance of engineering and creativity that very few cars have ever managed. The epitome of this is one iconic moment. During the arduous Paris-Dakar test routes in 1967, a DS transporting journalists traveled over dangerous terrain that would have degraded almost any rival. Its wheels held onto the shifting sands, its suspension took the hits, and its occupants came out of it elated but unharmed. This was a machine that made the improbable commonplace, combining functionality and style in a way that only Citroën could have imagined. It was neither a sports car designed for speed nor a luxury sedan designed for extravagance. Today, there is a mix of nostalgia and respect for the DS. With the same sense of wonder that enthralled drivers 70 years ago, enthusiasts lovingly rebuild rusted vehicles that sit peacefully in barns across Europe. More than just a relic, the DS is a reminder of a time when engineering aimed to elevate, when design dared to dream, and when a car could genuinely feel like an artistic creation. A car that was incredibly sophisticated, incredibly human, and forever unforgettable is a memory that endures for those who shared it, drove it down winding country roads, or gazed upon it in urban streets. Take a moment to read more tales like this one if you have enjoyed this trip through automotive history. The Citroën DS is only one example of the world's engineering marvels and lost legends that are just waiting to be remembered.